Hi, and welcome to a special edition of Squeeze and the Shrimp.
Breaking news! Dun dun dun!
He's the Shrimp,
He's the Squeeze.
and we're here to talk to you about a few things happening in the world right now.
Yeah, unless you've been living under a rock, in which case, stay there. You don't want to come out. There's the coronavirus happening.
It is?
Oh, God, we just got demonetized.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Now, we didn't want to do a whole podcast talking about the coronavirus. We're sure you've heard enough about that and what
Yeah.
all that's going around.
Yeah.
We just wanted to talk to you about what coronavirus means to us and maybe you as a motorcyclist or aspiring motorcyclist.
and just how it's affecting the entire, moto world, as
Yeah.
it were.
So a few things is, like just motorcycling during coronavirus. How does that affect motorcycling? And one of them is, in some places, I know in this state, Nevada, when our lockdown first hit, all motorcycle related things were deemed non-essential.
Yeah.
They've since changed that, I believe, under pressure from companies like Harley and everything else, but you couldn't even get repairs done. And where automobile dealerships were still operating, their repair shops were still operating, and it took the motorcycle companies putting pressure on our local government to say, hey, we do have a lot of people who commute and rely on these just like other people rely on cars. And so it got bumped up to limited essentials. So you can at least now in this state get your bike serviced. You can buy a motorcycle, although it's very limited.
You can't have your doors open. It's by appointment only. They're not going to be selling a ton.
Delivery. Yeah, they're not going to be selling a ton. It's mostly so that people can get their bikes worked on and get their bikes out of shops that were currently there. Because I know Harley got a notice saying you have to send all your mechanics home. And they were like, well, these people have their bikes. And they were like, we don't care.
Yeah.
Shut it down. So it's at least good that has
I don't think they
them.
handled that terribly well in the first part, but they're fixing a lot of those problems now, and it's very hit and miss depending on your state on how all that's going.
And where if you're in another country as well, could be vastly different.
Who knows? So if you do know and you want to tell us, put it down there.
And I've heard another thing from some other moto vloggers and things like that, although we're more of a podcast. Is that people complain to them like, what are you doing out riding your motorcycle? You're supposed to be in quarantine. And I guess the main complaint was you're going to tax the healthcare system if you get into an accident. Now that is true to a certain extent. Right? Like that's true to a certain extent. You are going to take a bed up in a hospital. However, for most of the country, there's plenty of hospital beds. We have a couple of friends who are anesthetists, and they're basically out of work right now
because they can't do surgery.
There's no elective surgeries or whatever.
The ER is basically,
there's a 3-minute wait at the closest ER to me.
Yeah, there's nothing in the ER. I mean, some people are still, shooting and stabbing people, as they put it.
Yeah.
But
that's all the business they have is shooting, stabbings, that car accidents.
Pretty much all surgeries, whether okay, maybe if you're an emergency surgery and you were potentially will do this in a month or two, and then your heart rate's but pretty much the entire healthcare system's doing just coronavirus right now.
Right.
So unless you get in a position where you need a ventilator, you're probably okay. So if you plow into a wall and you break your both
don't
your legs,
do that. Take the course.
Take them as of course.
Practice emergency braking.
Practice your brakes. But you're probably not going to put that big of a strain on things. The other thing is you need to take in situations like this a look at what your activities are going to be like, how likely it is. We recently did a video on how dangerous motorcycling is.
Yeah,
check
that out.
It is more dangerous, but also driving.
I'll put a link to that at the end.
Yeah. So just like driving to work is more dangerous than not driving to work. So I wouldn't suggest go skydiving into scuba gear because that sounds like a really good way to maybe mess something up. But especially if you're being safe, like motorcycling isn't going to put a tax that the healthcare system is.
Don't be silly. Don't be silly. And I don't recommend you be silly anyway. You know, I mean,
when there's not a big
don't tax the healthcare system needlessly.
But also
anyways.
just don't tax the healthcare system. Don't crash.
Yeah. I
Do
mean,
things to not crash.
it's anytime you crash or anything like that, you are taking up a bed, and normally hospitals are busier than they are right now. And could be that you're taking up space and somebody else.
This is
had
a little bit of
heart attack.
anecdotal from
It
us in the Vegas area. So if
you're in New York, far different story, right?
Yeah, if you're in downtown LA,
I'm just saying for most of the country, and I'm not trying to downplay coronavirus, and I know there's probably some people who you're in an area where you were hit hard by it.
yeah, stay indoors.
But for us and for the vast majority of the country outside of a couple of our big cities, our hospitals are operating at less than 40% capacity right now. So
the thing that's going to keep you,
deal.
the thing that's going to keep you out of the healthcare system more is making sure that you're not getting in contact with, so you keep that social distancing.
Yeah.
Now you might notice we are definitely closer than the
we're
suggested
quarantined.
6,
We're
right?
quarantine buddies. So
Pretty much.
everybody's got some family members and things like that you can't avoid.
I got
we're
two
pretty
people.
much that.
I got my dad who lives in my house with me, and I got AJ. AJ's got 2-3 people. Some of the rest of our coworkers, and we know everyone, and we talk on a regular basis about what we're doing to mitigate ourselves. And if anyone starts feeling sick, it's not that we want to ostracize you. We just don't want to hang out with you. So do the same thing if you're, trying to keep yourself less taxed on the healthcare system. A way that you can function and not go absolutely crazy while keeping social distancing is really, really useful.
Yeah.
And I actually think motorcycling is really great at that.
And
short of riding double up, you're not going to be within 6 feet of someone.
Yeah, and the other thing about the potential danger of taxing the healthcare system, everything else, most of that you're going to hear from people who are non-motorcyclists who view motorcycling as like, you're gonna die in 20 minutes. So it's they don't really understand, and I think those comments are more based in ignorance, because I mean, if you really want to play it safe, don't shower, because people slip and hurt themselves in the shower very often.
Don't ride in a car, because that's
don't go outside.
Yeah.
Don't walk too much. I mean, where does it end?
But then you have health problems because you don't get it.
Yeah. Calculated risk, right? Like, nobody's going to tell you to not go jog a trail, not to ride your mountain bike, and
calculated risks, and then take whatever precautions you can to make those risks less. But that's true whether it's for coronavirus time or not.
Yeah, anything. So obviously, there's going to be a lot of you guys out there who are out of work, working at home, that sort of thing, and getting out is actually good for your mental health. And I'm going to say that, like, we're not creatures who are designed to live in a small confined area. There's actually really well documented studies on social isolation and how that affects the human psyche. It's not good for you. So if getting out on your motorcycle gets you through this mentally so that you don't have a depression or something else, then it's probably worth it, right?
It's
and
great.
I know it's been really helpful for me, because my doing stuff has been so limited, and riding a motorcycle is probably less dangerous than going to the grocery store right now.
Yeah,
that's become like the Thunderdome.
Which is a little silly, but it does bring up something cool about riding a bike. You've got half of your PPE already built in. Granted, you're not anywhere close to sealed up and protected as much as a lot of people would.
But it's not.
Think
It's not. You're not out there transmitting virus.
You've basically already got that face shield on. Just close your visor. So
it's a good time to go buy a full face helmet. There's probably some deals out there.
or a face mask, but that's a different story.
Well, we have those for sale in our shop, by the way, so check that out. The other thing I wanted to touch on is, being that all these businesses are shut down, the motorcycle industry in a lot of U.S. states took a pretty big hit not just in sales, but just getting entirely shut down for a while.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of our next point is the other ways that it's affected motorcyclists. Like rallies have been canceled.
Yeah.
Rides have been canceled. Shows have been canceled. Races have been canceled. I mean, MotoGP
Completely shut down.
yeah, Supercross, flat track, done. So it's like not just the motorcycle selling industry,
Yeah.
but like all these ancillary, companies that rely on those events, and even like the small towns that host those events.
Yeah, Sturgis. If Sturgis doesn't happen this year, a good chunk of that town is gonna lose. Like, I don't know what the number is. I'm pulling it off the top of my head, but probably like 40% of their revenue for the year.
Yeah.
Like that is their Black Friday when they are no longer in the red.
Yeah, and the other thing that really is affecting the motorcycle industry right now, I know before we shot here, I think Rusty was looking up that TVS.
Oh yeah.
TVS, which is one of India's biggest motorcycle companies. We're going to talk a little bit more about them later.
Yeah, we got another news icon on that.
Yeah, but the other thing about them is that they've
lost, what is it,
63% or something?
62% of their sales for this year in
Yeah.
comparison to last year's figures.
Now, granted,
That's insane.
that's probably straight across the board for most of those places.
Yeah,
especially motorcycles
Baji,
because
Baji lost 55, Royal Enfield was 44, so India's taken
Yeah.
a pretty good hit, and that's
I mean that it's not 100% is a little bit phenomenal.
yeah, but
because-
that's pretty across the board
Yeah.
for all of the
And
like.
if a dealership is closed and you can't go look at bikes, how do you buy a bike? Like, sure, there's a few people buying them online and whatnot, but
Yeah.
I like to throw a leg over. So do you.
Yeah,
it's gonna be hard to sell
There are
motorcycles.
very few things from a motorcycle that I'm gonna buy unless it's I just need another one of these that I'm
Yeah.
gonna buy sight unseen. But it's not just India either. Like I believe EU marked like over 30%, so a third reduction in sales so far. The U.S. right now, the number that I've seen the hardest is we're gonna lose at least 25%, and that is an optimistic idea.
yeah.
So
the other thing plaguing the motorcycle industry right now is how does these shutdowns affect supply chains? So
Yeah.
even if, let's say, we miraculously found a vaccine tomorrow, right?
and we get everybody
can-
inoculated by the end of the week.
Right. We can open back up Friday, no coronavirus worries anymore. That's not going to happen. But if it did,
So nice.
the other thing is it's going to be hard to buy a motorcycle because the inventory your current dealer has right now is not going to be replenished. So unless they have something in stock that you want,
Yeah, it's gonna be
maybe,
it's gonna be
you know,
a
if they
couple.
don't, if you want to go buy a Tiger 900 and they don't have one, Triumph has been shut down. They shut down their production. So did Harley Davidson, Ducati, Brembo, KTM, Husqvarna. So Brembo shutting down
is going to mess up
is going to
all
mess
of
up
the rest of them.
Yeah, because
that
all the
pretty much
high-end bikes that use Brembos,
Yeah.
cars as well, they can't get the parts. Once what is on their shelf is depleted, it's going to take a while for production to spin back up.
and that's going to be a lot in case by case basis.
Yeah.
But the longer this goes on, the more it's going to be true for everything. You're already seeing huge effects on that on other parts of the market.
Yeah.
So especially like things that are getting hit really hard with wanting to be bought right now, computer items. The price of a webcam
yeah.
is just through the
Yeah.
you just can't get them. Like it's not even through the roof. They're just
You
gone.
might as well be trying to buy hand sanitizer or toilet paper.
Yeah, it's it's a little stupid. Those are coming back faster though. So those are easier to make
Yeah.
than like a brake set.
Now,
like
however, I will say this. It's probably a good time to buy an Indian because Polaris is the only company that I found that is still making motorcycles. Their factory is still spinning.
How much are they vertically?
It must be a lot because they're literally the only one. And obviously, all of the Italian bikes.
Oh yeah, they've been
at
shut down for a
zero.
couple more weeks, and
Yeah.
all of the EU,
Yeah.
the entire EU is. So. Yeah, if you're looking to get a bike right now,
I mean, it's probably a great time to purchase And it brings me to my next point.
Purchasing things.
Purchasing things. Go to your local or call your local motorcycle dealership and buy something. Help those guys. If you have the means, if you're still working, if you still have a steady paycheck, even a shirt, like throw those guys some support. Share their stuff on social media,
you just
get them, help your local economy out, and as a motorcyclist, help other motorcyclists out, just like you would pull over if somebody was stopped on the side of the road and looked like they were broke down.
It's the same situation right now.
Pull
Everyone
over,
right now is on the side of the road.
Yeah.
As far as like
pull over, and it's a fun thing is our local Triumph dealership finally got their order in of Tiger 900,
which is something that's been on my I want to
and their Daytona 765. So we actually have a private appointment with social distancing to go look at some motorcycles towards the end of this week, which we will be sharing with you. And we'll have some video for you guys and some of our feedback on those motorcycles.
We're shooting it later this week. It'll probably take us a couple days to get it up.
Yeah, but the main point is, we're out there. We're going to try to give them some business, give them some more eyeballs on our platform if we can.
Yeah, and just calling them. If no one answers, you know your answer. They're closed. But if someone does answer and you were, looking at getting a new set of boots and you already knew what your size was, that kind of thing.
If it's time to buy a new helmet, or, if you want to support the motorcycle industry, what would be a really cool gift for a friend is a motorcycle helmet, so that they could ride on the back of your motorcycle, or
that would work. The other thing is, go ahead and buy someone a pass to the MSF class. Like, you can pay for them, and I mean, it's a little bit of paying it forward kind of a thing, but it's definitely going to not happen tomorrow, because the classes are going
if you are still working and you have a steady income and everything like that, it's probably a really good time to buy a motorcycle. There's probably a bunch of great deals.
See what the deals are, and
don't try to put the squeeze on anybody.
But
leave that to me.
That's horrible. I know. I was expecting it, and it's still horrible, Squeeze.
Well, anyway, go out there, support your local motorcycle dealership.
Yeah.
And then also appreciate...
Or support us.
Yeah, check us out.
Our
buy a shirt. Buy a sticker. We're trying to do good works as well. But also appreciate this fantastic fade to black. While we change to the next subject. So our next order of business in this special news segment, and we're by no means reporters at all, but we are two blokes who talk about bikes.
And we like talking about things that are happening in the bike world as of right now.
Yeah, so we're going to try to, when there is bike news, we'll try to kick out videos early.
Yeah, we'll see.
And not leave them, stuck in the queue, so that when you do see our video, it is relevant.
Yeah. Not only that, but we'll see how much the news, we aren't sure how well views on this in comparison to some of our other stuff goes. If you guys really like this, throw a comment down there. But the news of the day, Norton got themselves bought, which is great, maybe?
Yeah, which is great, maybe. So for those of you out there who might be young, you might not know.
Tell me about Norton, Squeeze.
You might not know about Norton Motorcycles. Now, Norton Motorcycles is probably, for me, one of my most beloved motorcycle companies. And they've made a motorcycle for a while that is one of my most coveted motorcycles, and that is the Norton Commando. And some of you might know the Norton Commando because Keanu Reeves has a vintage Norton Commando. And he's gotten headlines riding that around.
Yeah.
Norton has not consistently made motorcycles for quite some time. If you've watched our Triumph video, which
we talked a little bit about it.
Yeah. That's not up yet, but when that goes up, we did talk a little bit about what happened to British motorcycles in the 60s, and Norton's kind of been in this state of sell, purchase, never
who's
really
running it, is it being ran or is it being sold off?
And through a lot of those things, they bought these companies, and the company who bought them didn't have enough money to really do Norton right.
Or they, started to, and X, Y, and Z happened in the rest of the world.
It was really hard. Like in this last incarnation of Norton, I really wanted to buy a Commando. I could not get one in the United States. So it was really, really hard to get some of the newer Nortons. They've, of course, made them over, but not in enough numbers to where they were really accessible.
Where you could just, go into a shop and be
you had to like special order and jump through some hoops, right? So there was a fella named Stuart Gardner who he purchased Norton. He was the last owner of Norton. And there was some shadiness, right? So one, motorcycles were not leaving the Norton factory.
Yeah, like they've got, I think, 7 or 8 bikes that are sitting there that have been bought. The money is no longer in the company to return because the bike's not quite built yet.
Yeah, and I think they did that thing where they sold a bike more than once.
Yeah.
And there's a couple other scandalous things, like there was some missing funds for a pension.
Yeah, a bunch of that, and it's to the point where he's been called what's his name?
Stuart Gardner.
You just said it. Yeah, thank you. Stuart has been called to court.
Stuart.
Like multiple times, and he's just no show.
Yeah.
So whatever happens on that side of it is going to be
he's effectively gone into hiding.
Yeah.
He's done the was the antivirus guy who's gone into hiding. Norton, but McAfee.
Oh, there we are. Yeah, no.
Hiding. So this guy also, like, while his company was failing and like his company wasn't making money, and his workers weren't getting paid, and then somehow their pension funds were going missing, and then he was living a really lavish lifestyle.
There's a lot of questions
Ferraris
there that we don't have the honest answer to, and it'll come out in the wash, but it's not going to come out in the wash for like 10 years.
Yeah, first they got to find him.
Well, yeah, and even if they don't find him, say he flew the coop, he's in Tijuana or something.
Yeah. But anyway, the British government stepped in.
Yeah.
And they put, this is a little bit weird maybe for Americans, because they put it into something called administration. Now, in the States, we have bankruptcy. That's probably the closest comparison.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of different types of bankruptcy.
Bunch of different types of bankruptcy. This kind of administration is where the British government actually takes control of the company. And they can actually...
There'd be so many people pissed if anyone did that in the U.S.
The British government takes control of the company, and the government can actually run the company.
Yeah.
In this case, they decided to sell it. And they sold it to the Indian company TVS, which Americans probably know nothing about. Right?
Yeah. Short of having it be something that I've read, I haven't seen a TVS bike in the flesh.
You'll not see it in the United States. Now, TVS has deals with some bike manufacturers that you may know of. Like, I believe
they've got some stuff going on with Beamer.
They build most of the 310R.
Yeah.
Right? So they build most of the 310R, a couple of other things, right? So they've been making motorcycles for a while. They're a giant motorcycle company. The thing that has me a little bit squirrely about it, right, is they've gotten some help from Beamer, which is great. But the most expensive motorcycle that they sell costs $526.90.
That's not in a price bracket anywhere close to what is ever going to get imported.
Yeah.
So if they bought Norton to slap that badge on a TVS and just make more of the same motorcycle, you're never going to own a Norton.
And it's not only that, but it's a shame, right? Because Norton Motorcycles, as we know it, basically just became a t-shirt company.
We'll find out, because we honestly don't know what it's going to do. They're the largest motorcycle seller in India.
Which is the largest motorcycle market in the world.
Yeah, it's insane how many people ride bikes in Asia. But they're not riding the same type of bikes.
Yeah.
So if they're just getting it to, slap a badge on a shirt, slap a badge on a tank, and that's all they wanted Norton for, they could also turn around the other way and be like, okay, we're going to take this company. We have we have some engineers. We have the people in our.
What I'm hoping is that they bought this brand so that they could sell motorcycles to the UK and US market.
I'm hoping as well.
That's what I'm hoping.
My dream, like
I
from
think they probably
this morning when I read the article, my dream is that they come in, they fix the problems the company was having with being insolvent. So the company gets to the point, and they're going to take it in the shorts for a little while to make it so that they're making bikes again, right?
Yeah.
They make bikes. They make their good bikes in the UK. If they want to have 300-400 cc bikes, make those in India. TVS is already making them, so keep it in India.
So
make the good bikes in Britain, and then import those to everywhere that wants the good. Like TVS could basically have two lines. They have their Lexus and they have their TVSs. TVSs are their straight whatevers. Yeah. Norton is their, you want a good street bike, you want a really good race bike, we're going to put it under the Norton brand.
Yeah, and I feel like, so we've got like kind of the worst case scenario is they just rebadge current bikes they have and it says Norton and they cost pennies and they don't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
And the main thing that they bought Norton for was to sell t-shirts and merch, right? The best case scenario, this is my wild dream, this is what happens. Mini Cooper. Okay? My wildest dream is that TVS leans on their relationship with BMW. And they go to BMW and they say, hey, let's partner up on this. We'll make some of the lower end stuff. You guys can make some of the higher end stuff in your European factories. And,
I think you're going to lose some of the Norton if they bring Beamer into it.
Mini Cooper was a British company. I'm saying that's like, I think that's the best, because with the Germans like overseeing the powertrain, look at what they did for Italian sports cars.
Yeah, no, I could see them doing
Lamborghinis are actually reliable now and don't cost $10,000 to change the oil.
Well, that's because they cost $15,000 to change the oil because you have to pull the engine.
You don't anymore. The Germans fixed it.
Anyways, enough about Lambos. I don't know of a bike that has a bull on it. So I agree a little bit, but it'll be interesting to see, and we have no way of knowing. The news is just broken as breaking news.
If they don't lean on their partnership with BMW, it would be a great thing if they approach Triumph. Right? Triumph and Norton have a storied history together.
I don't know how good TVS as far as their own internal company. If they have the people there and they can just go, okay, we have a good team of people, we can sit in Britain, have them make Norton make good motorcycles again, and just really like.
Well, the reason why I was talking about Beamer and Triumph is not necessarily just the manufacturing, but marketing to a European and an American audience. And BMW and Triumph have both done a good job of that. So they know the markets. They know the markets.
I will give you that.
I'm not saying that TVS can't build a good, reliable motorcycle.
I think my dream would be more TVS doing it on their own, is I'd like to see them see more competition on it.
Okay.
If you make another Mini Coupe, and Mini Coupe is, has their own dealer set up and all of that stuff, it's still like when something goes wrong, it still just goes back to Beamer dealership. Whereas
I'm not saying it has to be a full on like that kind of relationship, but I'm saying like if they just lean on
I can't see how Beamer would sign on without it being that.
Well, if they want to keep selling 310Rs, that's how you get them. That's what I say by lean on it, If TVS
make an argument, sir. You do make an argument.
If TVS went to them and they were like, oh, look, that 310R, that's a nice motorcycle. It would be a shame if something were to happen to that.
Except you have to do this what me and my brother were thinking. For those of you who don't get that reference, it is a very British gangster style thing of. Anyways, just adds so much more to the Norton.
I just, so something could be worked. right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they just have no experience.
I hope they work it. Is
They
all
just
I
have-
care about.
they- because the Indian motorcycle market's so much different
Oh, yeah.
than the European or American market.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they can't figure it out. I'm not saying they can't hire the right people or whatever. But there's a difference between even hiring a really good marketing guy and hiring a marketing guy who's been doing it for a successful company for a long time.
I think your answer would get Norton selling top line bikes in, 2 years, 5 years minimum, kind of a thing. My answer, they're going to be working on it for 15 years before Norton is a name that comes up on a regular basis that doesn't have this connotation.
I don't think that they're going to spend that amount of money, especially right now when sales are down 62% in India. And they're going to just sit on an asset for 15 years.
Yeah, I don't think so either. It depends on where they're
And I would be happy with them going forward with like 4 Norton bikes or like 3 Norton bikes. The Commando and like a mid tier and a low tier.
Yeah.
And when I say low tier, I mean in the Bonneville price bracket.
Yeah,
right?
so we're looking at
you have your lower tier
you're
Bonneville
looking 5,000 to 10,000 depending on what options
and
you
then
pick,
you have
kind
like
of
your
a thing.
Thruxton that's like 15, 16.
Yeah, and then you get something that's, with everything on it, it's only $2,200 or $22,000.69.
Yeah, I mean, most of what TVS makes right now are scooters. I mean, most of the bulk of what they make is scooters and those little those little 2-seater people mover.
The only
they look like street razors,
the
street side by sides.
Yeah,
I don't know what that thing is. It's like a step above a rickshaw.
Yeah, it's a rickshaw someone else isn't driving.
You could do like a couple of crates and a buddy. We'll do another one of these soon, and look for our video about our trip to Triumph
and Beamer.
Which I'm so excited about.
Yeah, the big things that they just got an order in on was the Triumph bikes. That I have 2 that are on my short list.
MotoGP 2.
Well, yeah.
765.
Now you're just saying numbers. I know what the numbers mean, but you are just saying numbers.
I know.
Okay. Anyways, if you want to see more stuff from us, go ahead, hit that subscribe, ring that bell so you know whenever we have stuff up.
Also, find us on Facebook at squish.moto.
Same with Instagram, squish.moto.
Also that. And check out our own website, squishmoto.com.
Where you can get these lovely
buy
threads.
Lovely shirts. We've got stickers. We've got some new reflective stickers to make you more visible to traffic. We also have some face masks as well for you guys who like riding out there in half helmets, full helmets, or if you just want something to wear when you take off your helmet and you go to the grocery store.
To the grocery store. So
go check that out.
Stay safe, everybody, and
peace.
You get busy, bee! Go get busy, bee!